Okay, so Razor engine is nothing but a mechanism which will include uh, which will which will enable you to write some C# or VB.NET code or embed that code into web pages. Okay, so server based code can create dynamic web content on the fly while a web page is written to the browser. So whatever you have written in that web page, here web pages means .cs HTML files. So if you write any server based code here, when a web page is called, the server executes the server based code inside the page before it returns to the page to the browser. Okay, before returning the page to the browser, whatever server side code is there on that page, that will be executed, and that respective HTML will be replaced in that page. Razor is based on ASP.NET and designed to create web applications. It has the power of traditional ASP.NET markup, but it is easier to use and easier to learn. Okay, so if you are good in ASP or C sharp, you can write C sharp as like code in your web pages. Okay, so we will see how the Razor engine. What is Razor engine? Okay, you so whatever the code you add using @character, the @character starts inline expressions, single statements, block and multi-block statements. Okay, so you can declare a variable in a CSS/HTML page. Okay, I will create a new project. So this is getting started MVC. I created a sample project. Now I'm going to add another project. Okay, so you can declare just like in your C sharp, the variables you can declare here. So single statement blocks, you use and those curly brackets. Okay, and where total equal to 7. Here total is a variable and where is a keyword. The total data type will be decided at the time of compilation or at the time you assign a value to it. Okay, total 7 and my message is equal to hello world, and you can use multi statement blocks. So in curly brackets you can write whatever the code you want. Okay, so like this you can create the Razor engine. Okay, so I am going to create a new project here. Sample MVC. Oh, this has taken some console application, sorry. MVC sample. So here you take as empty project and you give MVC, you select, so that whatever required for MVC, all the pages will be created here. Okay, all the files. So as we discussed earlier, all the structure that is required for an MVC application created here, abstract file, so that root.config is there, and then controllers empty folder, models empty folder, views empty folder, but that views respective web.config file is here. Okay, so this is how we created now a sample MVC application. So you just add a controller to controllers folder. Okay, controller, and you can use MVC file controller. Okay, so this one I will keep it as home. And you right click on this action method and click add view. It will add a index and then a layout. Means layout is nothing but it's a master page in your ASP.NET. So the common layout like the menus and even some labels, whatever you show, just like what I discussed in ASP.NET, the master pages, the same thing we use it here, but the terminology change it to layout pages. Okay, so this layout pages you can define your own, or at the first time if you don't define anything, by default it will create one for you and it will be added to the views. Okay, so views there is nothing now, but it will be added. A layout will be added, a shared folder will be created here under views, you can see that. So a shared folder created and layout page is created and then index file got created. Okay, so if you run this page, you can see a blank page with some layout applied. Okay, this is what it applied, but there is no login page with key. Okay, there is no controller but still. Okay, so this is how the index page has arrived, and the razor syntax is very simple. So this at the rate means this is razor syntax. Viewback dot title means this page title will be that one. You can see home page index. So that layout page whatever is there that will be given here. So home page title my MVC application. So if you want to overwrite it, you can overwrite it. Okay. So now we'll see a simple syntax where this is equal to hello MVC. Okay, something like this I have used. So if I want to render this onto my page, what I can do is p and at the rate message. Okay, if I give like this, which one it got run? That. So you can see hello MVC, whatever I have written in my curly brackets, I declared a variable. The same thing has come here. Okay, like this. So C sharp, how you declare your variables, how you declare your programming and everything, you just use at the rate and then message equal to hello MVC, something like this. Variables you can declare, if, switch and for each, everything, all the loops you can use. Okay, so this is the advantage of Razor engine. Okay, multi-level means same way here only you can declare many variables. Message description something. Here you can put a spam tag and then at the rate description you can keep, you can say all about a messy razor engine. Okay, like this you can add some syntax. Okay, razor engine single statement block. So date time now dot month, this is C sharp again. Okay, so all C sharp syntax only. Only thing you have to use at the rate and inside curly brackets you have to use these things. Okay, code is case sensitive, just like C sharp the code is case sensitive, and you enclose literal strings values in double quote marks just like in C sharp. Okay, fourth point, you use variable to store values inside block. Okay, so 7. Much of your coding involves objects. Okay, so you can use the request.url and request.file file path. So from where the request is coming. So these and all are from C sharp only. All the C sharp code only we are writing here. If you copy and do this, if you put this on your page, you can see request dot relative path, requested URL, full path from where it is getting executed, and what is the request type. Okay, so this is how. So there is nothing new or nothing need to bother about the razor engine. This is just you need to use at the rate symbol before writing your C sharp code on front pages. Front pages means CSS HTML pages. Okay, other than that nothing new in this razor engine, and the loops or objects or variables whatever you are going to use. So just see the if loop. Okay, if conditions at the rate, inside that you are using the if condition. Okay, and then that is what razor engine, nothing need to bother about this. So if you have any questions you can ask me now. So I hope you guys are good. Okay. So next is data annotations. So data annotations, I told you yesterday. Okay. So while explaining this class, the first example, the models, all the models has this required email address and display. These are different types of validations as well as the display properties we are using for properties inside a model. Model is nothing but a class, a set of classes thus that define your application structure. Okay, the objects and classes that are involved in our application, that is called as model. So model nothing but a class. Each model will contain some data attributes. So these data attributes we will put some conditions or validations on these data attributes, that is called data annotations. Okay, data validation is kept aspect for developing web applications. In ASP.NET MVC we can easily apply validation to the web application by using data annotation attribute class to model class. Data annotation attribute classes are present in system.component model data annotations namespace and are available in ASP.NET projects like ASP.NET web applications, websites, MVC, web forms, and also in entity framework. So these data annotations not only to render client side but also to validate server side also. Server side means in C sharp code also you can validate. So that is if you enter any value, so front end you are not validating anything. So if you want to validate this one in front end, and front end the JavaScript will automatically take care. But what about backend in C sharp? So this model we are passing, and model state dot is valid, so it will be validated, and the value will be true if all the data whatever you are sending is valid according to the data annotations you defined for that model. So this model we define values like email, so it should be some email only, email format only, and password, this is a string, and it is required. If you not pass any value, server side also it won't accept. Okay, register view model, sorry, this is remember me also, check or not check, that's fine. Okay, so these data annotations, they not only used to validate at client side but also at the server side. Okay, so these data annotations, we have data type, so what data type you are using for this particular property, and display name, when it renders to client side, what is the display name you are going to use it, and display format. So display format for the property, like different format for the date property. So the date, whenever you see some currency or date, what format you want to display once the user enters the data. Okay, required field, regular expression, range validations, string length validation, max length validation, and bind specify fields to include or exclude when adding parameter or form values to the model properties. So bind value. So bind type, you can define what is the name of this one while binding, and then scaffolding column specifies field for hiding from editor forms. So scaffolding column means that is mainly some primary key. So this one mainly uses entity framework. When you save the data, the primary keys will be automatically, one id column will be created, that id column will be hide from the forms, but it kept in some hidden field. Okay, so these are main data annotation types we have. So we can simply a class, if you see here we have many data annotations defined for a particular class. Okay, bind exclude equal to employee ID. So you are saying while binding you exclude just employee ID, so that this employee ID won't be binded to your grid view or whatever in the front end. Okay, and employee name, emp name, your full name you are going to display employee name, and error message employee name is required, and string length 100 and minimum length is 3. So the maximum length you can keep 100 and minimum length should be 3. So like this, you can define many validations. So here range validation is there, data type validation, so email address and display required error message, max length, okay, and then regular expression. So you are giving this regular expression, some expression, it represents some email ID. So regular expressions is a different concept. So you have some strings, set of strings, and you want to validate all the strings are following some pattern or not. So for that you use regular expressions to match. So here also we are giving this regular expression. So while user adding some data, inputting some data, that time the data will be validated against this regular expression pattern. Okay, so once we have defined validation to the model by using data annotations, these are automatically used by HTML helpers in views for client-side validation to work. Please ensure that script tag references are in the view. Okay, and then jQuery validate.min.js you have to use, unobtrusive.min.js you have to use. So this unobtrusive.js or min.js file is mainly whenever you are not using any jQuery references or your files. Okay, this unobtrusive of JS file, it automatically generates required components which are equivalent to jQuery on your page. Okay, without using any jQuery, by using unobtrusive, you can develop all jQuery functionality like Ajax calls and even this data annotation requirements, whatever needed. Okay, these are data annotations. Okay, so this data annotations we will see in detail now. Okay, so before moving to that, what I will do is I will add few models. Okay, new item. I'm going to add a class, C# class, student. Okay, this student I am using data annotations I have used, and then property int student uh, id first name. Last name. So this class is you are well used to this class. So the same class I am using again. Okay, this one I created, and then in this models I will add one more item called student db context. Okay, or student entities I am creating. Okay, this one I will derive from db context context. So before that, the entity framework I already explained you guys. So I'm going to add entity framework reference to my project. Okay. So how we can do is manage NuGet packages. You just right click on your project and click on manage NuGet packages. And here go to online. Okay. In 2015, it's even more easier UI. Okay. Here you check for entity framework. It is already there. So this is what I'm going to install. Okay. So this is code first approach. What I am doing here. DB context. Okay. DB context. Okay. So let's student entities. I just created something like this, and then property DB set. I'm going to give some students. Okay. I have given something like this. Now what I am going to do is this student. So just remember guys, I have created one model. Model means a class. Okay. You can even name it as student model for your easy understanding. I created student model. Okay. Which is having some properties ID, first name, last name, age, class and branch. Now what I have done is I created another student entities which is derived from DB context. DB context is nothing but this is an entity framework context object. So it will create a context for your DB database. So context means it will hold the reference for entire database on your SQL server. So whichever connection string you are going to give for your object, that will be taken care. Okay. So here this DB context that gives all the necessary components or methods or objects whatever required for the student entities to create a database on the fly on your machine. Okay, you need not to mention any you can mention your connection string, or if you don't want, you don't need to mention any connection string. Okay. Now this student class we created and this student entities object we created, and that is deriving from DB context, and this public students, this is just a constructor we created. And now why this DB set? This DB set is to define this defines my student model is a table I have to create on my database. Okay, with the name of student model, a table will be created on SQL server when you mention something like this DB set. Okay, so I'm going to define my connection string in web.config. So there is already some default connection attached. So this is my local. So this is a temporary, means it will be added to my directory here under app data. If you want, you can create your own connection string here. Okay, default connection, and remove this data source and everything. Place your connection string, your local database connection string, whatever you have. Okay, so that is also fine. So now what I am going to do is I am going to create a view. Say, just observe, I am not creating any database table or even a database. I am not going to create, I am just creating some controllers views, that's it. So here I am going to create a controller. Here you can see MVC5 controller empty, MVC5 controller with read write actions, MVC5 controller with views using entity framework. So you can implement this one. Okay, views. So you give your model class is student model we are using, and data context student entities we have given. Okay, use async controller actions, that is not required, that we will discuss later. Generate views, use layout. Okay, that's okay, fine, everything is done. Just see, there was an error getting. student model, try rebuilding the project. So before that, cancel, let me build. Method must have a return type, so it has to be same name. Okay, so now okay, let me comment this. I will see. Just a second, please. So if not that one, what we can do is MVC controller with read write actions. We can do that also. So this one created the default index and everything, those things created by your student controller. What you can do is now this method. So in any module, so student, this controller is mainly to handle all the CRUD operations regarding student controller, student table. Okay, so index means it will return all the values or it will display all the values in your table. So add view index, that is okay, fine. So you are going to list all the students. So here select list. Okay, and then your model class is student model, and then data context is student entities, and create as a partial view is there. So these views I will explain you later. Hey, what happened to this? There was an error getting the type MVC model, student model. Try rebuilding the project. Rebuild also succeeded. So by default, it generated entire view for me by using student model class. So student model has first name, last name, age, class, and branch. Even though we have ID, the ID is taken as this table ID and it won't display for you. Okay, it will be used to add, edit, delete, and other details. For other purposes, this one will be added. When you run this page, you can see no data will be there, but the table headers will be created. So object reference not set to an instance of object. So what I am going to do is this student controller, here I am going to return new list of student model. Okay, and this is not referenced resolved. Okay, a blank object I am passing so that there won't be any issue. Guys, you are getting or any confusion? So this is what it has given simply. So on creating you can create, but there is no view, that's why this is exception. So we'll create a view for create, add view, and then not an empty. So you just select a create template so that it will automatically create it. So context class outside text. So student entities and everything we have created, so that so it created everything. So there are no data annotations as of now, so there is no error message. Okay, but later we can see that. So create new, it is giving. So there are no validations, that's why it redirected. So now we are going to implement some data annotations on our student model. Okay, id, okay, fine. This one display, I am giving name equal to first name, and then the second one display name equal to last name, age, branch, these are okay, fine. So validations we implement required, and if you want some error message you want to show, you can show first name is mandatory. Okay, like this you apply for this. Last name is mandatory. Age is mandatory. Class is mandatory, and then branch also a mandate. So we implemented this. Now we will see. Earlier when we clicked on the when we clicked on in create page, when we clicked submit, it automatically redirected to the list, this page. But now we will see what will happen. So still it is showing, means it has to be rebuilt. Let me rebuild it. Am I not applying? So this create validation message also added. So script bundle. Just a second, guys. Render body. So the script bundle has to be added. So this section is required, that is missing in our page. We added now. We'll see. So directly we can add all these files, whatever are there in jQuery validate. Okay. So this jQuery validate files are not there on my solution. That's why it is throwing some error. So view scripts jQuery validate, it is not there. So we have to add those files, then only the validation will happen. But even you can validate at the client side or server side. Okay, so that's how I will tell you. So again, MVC is mainly depends on HTTP protocol. HTTP protocol mainly supports few methods called get, post, put, delete, and then trace. Okay, people don't use, even though there are a few other methods, we don't use all those methods. We use these four methods, very common, and that too, these two we use very frequently. So get means you are sending data in URL. Post means you are just posting the data in the body, request body. Okay, so in MVC, the page where whenever you see all the methods in this, every action, if you see on the top in comments, you can see the get, and for some things it is post. So why this get and post means, get will just serve your request and it displays the view, and post is another method where the data will be posted to your MVC application. That's the main difference. Okay, so for each method, each in action result, the view, there will be two methods. One is with get and another is with post. If you see, create is one, get is there, and one post method is there. Okay, whatever I submit on my page, the data will automatically converted to a form collection, means a key value pair will be generated for my create request. Okay, and then the data will be sent in form collection. That here, if you want, you can use student model, because already we are using student model. We defined that view will use student model. Okay, here on top we told already this page is going to use student model, and the data we binded also HTML editor for first name, HTML editor for last name. So this is called HTML helper. Okay, this I told you yesterday already. This HTML helper will have all the controls definition. So you just need to use at the rate HTML dot. You can use text box for drop down list for something like that. So when you use the controller name with the for suffix, it says you are going to use this control to render for a particular model property. Okay, this model property you are telling first name. So this editor will get the first name of the value inside the first name, and it displays in editor. So if this object is null, means a blank object will be passed if you don't pass anything, and that blank object, all the values will be null. So the text fields are blank now. So again, if you want to if you want to submit this form, what will happen is, it is two-way binding. Two-way binding means the load, whenever you are loading, all the values inside your object will be binded to the controls on the page. While submitting the data, all the values inside your controls will be binded back to your object properties, and that object will be submitted to the server. Okay, so here in my create, so In my create request, one is get is just to display my page with the required controls, the respective controls. The post is which used to collect the data once user submitted. Okay, this is student model and you can validate it here. So model state you can use model state dot is valid. Then what you can do is we have already student student entities I have created, right? That is entities equal to new student entities student entities. So the student entities is there entities dot students dot add. This is by default your DB context enables these methods for your student entities. So this student entities is an entity framework class. It will have all the collection of your uh, tables inside it. This DB set is a wrapper which will have all the operations like add, delete, update, many things are there. Okay, so you can use entities dot add whatever color model. This is student. I'm just renaming this as student. So this student I am adding, and then you do entities dot save changes. That's it. So that the record will be added to the database. Okay, so we will check this simple. So here automatically it converted to my student model. Okay, you can see this object set to all the values whatever I entered in my text fields got converted to an object of student model, and you can see model state. So if you don't have any database, it automatically creates the database and creates those tables and added the values. Okay, so this got added, and whatever added I have to display it here. So what I'm going to do is student entities equal to new student entities. I am going to return entities dot students. Okay, if I run this, the whatever I added now, that record will be displayed here. So you can see MVC sample that record whatever I added that came here. Okay, I didn't write a single line of SQL Server code, but a table got created. Where that table got created, we will see. Okay, you just refresh your page and we will see anything got created here or on my SQL Server it got created. Let me check. So the database will be created on the name of application. See, now I am opening my is my machine. So this one. Now only I am opening my database. So far there is I didn't create any databases, something like that. So where it got created. So it got created somewhere. So this is local projects version local DB. Here databases, system databases, business layer, data access layer. This is also another one. So somewhere it got created. So if we give some SQL connection string that will be added there automatically, but it got created somewhere on my machine. So I couldn't get it where it is. It should be created here only. Let me just see. So somewhere it got created. Okay, the database should be in app data folder, but somehow it is missing. Yeah, you can see this MEC sample models and this file got created here. Okay, that's why it is not showing all the files here. If I use this one, show all files, then it may display. So this is MDF file got created in my project directory and all the data is going to save it here. Okay, so my student controller now have the functionality to add a student and display a student. Same way, if I want to edit a student, it has to edit that student. So you should be very firm with link queue. Link queue is very useful in this context. Okay, where student equal to this one. Okay, entities. I have to create entities object first. Student entities equal to new students where student equal to entities dot students dot where s implies s dot id equal to the id parameter whichever passed dot single or default, and I am going to pass this one student. Okay, so here also all the form collections I can change to student model. Okay, delete also I can use this, and then edit. I'm adding a view. Edit, this is mainly to edit the details. Model class student model context student entities and add it. So same way I will edit for details also. So details is here, so that I will send student object. So I will add one more student and we will see two records, so that ASP.NET last name web forms age all class web apps branch Microsoft. Okay, I created this one too. So two classes are there, so two records. So you can see the details. This views I didn't add. So add view. This is for details. Student model. Add it. So details it shows simply whatever the values I have added. Okay, and then if you want to edit, you can edit and it shows all the details like this. And saving also, it is again a post action. So edit get is there. Get is mainly used to display your view, present your view, and we have a get a post here. This post is helpful to modify your record. Okay, so what we are going to do is here edit, again you create student entities equal to new student entities, and entities dot students dot where s implies s dot id equal to id dot singular default. And now from the student object, whatever you got here, you just add student dot first name equal to student object dot first name. Like this, you can replace, you can assign all the values. So I'm just showing first three fields, two more only, right? Class equal to student object dot class, and then entities dot save changes. Okay, that's it. It automatically saves the changes to database. So this is my list, Microsoft Corp. So you can see Microsoft Corp updated here. Okay, so how easy it is. Are you doing anything coding? Very less only, right? So the scaffolding even has the more flexibility. I will create one more controller that will explain you. New controller that is with MVC views using entity framework. Add now student model, student entities. Okay, use page layout, generate views, that is okay. Student models controller name is student models controller, that's okay, fine. So now it will create all the views and all the methodologies whatever I have written so far. See, nothing I am returning here, everything it has written. So binding what has to bind and everything it is saying here for the student model. Delete also, entire code it generated. Okay, and then if you see student models, create, index, edit, details, delete, create, everything it only created, and all the operations we can see from this. So earlier the build problem was there, that's why it couldn't execute. So we have this, if you want create a new one, this is executing from another controller, that is student models, not from the actual one. Okay, so delete, I didn't implement it, right? So silverlight, last name, rich internet application, age some 10, class web apps, Microsoft Corp. Okay, create, and details, it is showing details, back to list, and if you want to edit you can edit, or come, if you want to come back to the list you can come back, And if you want to delete something, you can delete also. Okay, I have to like details. Okay, delete. So are you sure you want to delete? So delete it. So that got deleted. So all the views are generated and the respective methods also generated on your model. Okay, on your controller, everything generated by Microsoft, and you need not to write a single line of code for this table. If you see how easy is it, MVC. You just compare to ASP.NET how easy it is. You are not writing a single line of code, only you define two things. One is your model with the data annotations whatever required, and then a context object which is required to perform all the entity framework operations. Here also what you defined is you just define what tables this context object contains. That's it. Nothing else you define. Okay, so on the name of the students, a table got created in your database. Okay, and then let me try add a connection, something if it is available that we can see. Okay, so only thing you define your model and your data annotations, and then all your data context object. After that, there is no need to write a single line of code. Everything will be taken care by your MVC application. The controller also gives you an option to generate all the methods and their respective views. Okay, even validations also that generates from your data annotations. Okay, so isn't it easy? Any difficulty is there, or any questions from your side? So this is this much easy, and you can create web forms in very fast phase with this kind of approach. Okay, so it only generated this DB context, everything for you, and all the database insert, update, delete operations, everything processed by this student entities object alone. Not required to write your tables and your stored procedures and the queries to insert, delete, update. All this headache is removed, and even designing your form and everything got removed. Only you design your main Outlook template. Okay, this layout page, if you define properly, the rest of the things with minimum changes you can develop using MVC. That's where and why MVC got very popular. Okay, only model you have written. So to write a model, a good design model, it won't take much time, and after that developing MVC applications, it is pretty easy. Okay, so this Razor engine, we have few things, theoretical parts. Tomorrow I will cover, not tomorrow, the next class, I will cover the theoretical parts. Okay, in this Razor engine and other parts. Okay, even this is code first approach. We call this entity framework approach is code first. Code first means in this you only write all your models, like this student model, a branch model, like that you define all your models. Okay, after that what we will do is a student entities object, like that you create your entities context object. From there all the DB activities will be taken care by that class, and this and all other screen design and edit, add, edit, delete. If you want to write manually you can write, otherwise if you create some controller like this with views, it automatically generates everything what you require. Okay, so next class we will discuss about database first approach. There all the tables we create first and model like this will be generated next. Okay, so the validations and everything you have to implement there manually, not like this. So you are not supposed to edit the database first. In database first approach, you are not supposed to edit the model file. You can edit, but whenever subsequent refreshes means when you do when you add a new table and you are trying to get that into your entity model, that time it is your entire model will be rebuilt. That time whatever data annotations you implemented on your model, they will be lost. Again you have to write from the beginning. So that's why it is not supposed to edit your. So guys, you there some power problem. So like this, we can edit all the, we can implement the applications very fast. So any doubts on this? Are you guys are good? I hope you guys are good. Okay, the next class we'll discuss about the database first approach and some helper classes and state management in MVC, how we do all these things we will cover in our next class. Okay, later we will go with jQuery and MVC and then web API. Okay, thank you guys. Happy weekend and good night.